SmarkCast, back in Nerdvana. Got a lot to talk about today because of the pay-per-view and Raw. I'm not gonna do it in order. I'm just gonna talk about the pay-per-view, and then whatever match I talk about, I'm gonna skip on to Raw, because really, Raw was not that great. Very boring. The matches were okay, but other than that, it was just kind of meh. But I do have a question to answer. I'll get to that when I get to the actual match that the question was asked about. I actually have like 3 pages full of stuff to cover. That's alright. I won't cover it all. I guess start with Extreme Rules, the pay-per-view. I thought it was a great pay-per-view. Solid B, B+. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. And it seems like lately the pay-per-views that don't have the what looks like stellar cards on paper have been the shining stars. But in all honesty, it's been a while since WWE has actually had a crappy pay-per-view. I think it's been since actually not really a while. It's been since Royal Rumble, so it's only been like 3 or 4 pay-per-views. But they're on a roll. I'm going to start off with Extreme Rules. Start off with the pre-show match. And started off with an unpopular opinion. One of my just unpopular opinions that no one ever agrees with. The WLC match, I thought, was completely atrocious. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, and everyone seemed to love it. Even the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." And I just didn't get it. I was like, this is stupid. It's pretty much WWE saying, we're going to start this off with a joke and make sure that you don't take this entire pay-per-view seriously. Because, I mean, it was just everything added in. The bumps were cool when it came to 3MB and Los Matadores, but it's just, I was not a fan of the little person commentary group, the little person announcer, and the little person referee. I mean, it just seemed like a giant joke that no one was taking seriously. I mean, I know it was a WLC match, so of course it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously, and it was kind of a joke, but I just didn't see the appeal of it. I didn't see the fun. I didn't see anything. So personally, I was very unimpressed with that match and thought it was the worst match on the card. And that's sad because everyone else seemed to love it. So I'm in the minority here, whatever. And then on Raw, they actually continued the feud, which was just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do next with them. A Wii cage match or something like that. Who knows? Probably put them in a dog kennel. It's just, the whole thing's just stupid, and I'm not a big fan of it. It was just, it was adorable, I'll say that. It was cute, but a 11-minute match with El Torito, and people know my hatred for El Torito, so it's whatever. However, I did say El Torito would win, so I was 1-1 on the night on that, which is awesome. Next came probably the second best match of the night. Solid 4-star match. Great match. RVD versus Swagger versus Cesaro. They got Swagger out of there and left it with RVD and Cesaro, which is something I didn't expect. I didn't expect that at all. I thought it would come down to Swagger and Cesaro since they're the ones in the feud, but it's almost like they've booted Swagger out of the feud, and now it's RVD and Cesaro. Which I get it, because RVD is a former Paul Heyman guy, and Cesaro is the current Paul Heyman guy, and not to mention RVD and Cesaro put on great matches. I mean, so far, it started off with a great promo by Heyman, and I mean that suplex that Cesaro did on Swagger from the apron to the inside, that got him eliminated eventually, was great. 6 minutes, Cesaro was gone, but it was. I mean, we even got to see a Van Daminator, which was pretty cool. But in the end, RVD tried to do a 5-star frog splash and missed it. And Cesaro gave him the neutralizer, gave him a solid 12-minute match. I don't know why it was exactly an Extreme Rules match, because there was only one weapon used the entire time, and it was a trash can, and beyond that, and that didn't even come in until about 8 minutes into the match. Until the match was 3/4 of the way over. So calling that an Extreme Rules match was kind of nah to me. But it was cool how they did the elimination thing. I dug that because that was old school ECW. I dig that. I said Cesaro would win it. Cesaro won it 2-2 on the night for me. Next was Rusev versus R-Truth and Xavier Woods. They got like a total 3-minute match, 5 minutes if you count the beatdown at the beginning. Rusev destroyed him, no big deal, nothing really to talk about here. They've even moved on. Rusev destroyed Kofi Kingston on Raw last night. But I said Rusev would win that. I was 3-3. Rusev is impressive. I'm enjoying it. And going back, sorry to go back on something. When it looks like they're continuing the RVD Cesaro thing because they kind of continued it on Raw. It may be the end of it though because he didn't beat RVD really clean, but he beat RVD down and left him lying. I think we might get a RVD versus Cesaro match at Payback though, and that will end it with Cesaro standing tall. Next was another great match of the night, which I think got 3.5 stars. Big E versus Wade Barrett. A lot of people were kind of sleeping on this match, just like I don't know about this match, kind of thing. And I loved it because I'm a huge fan of Wade Barrett. I'm not the hugest fan of Big E, but I am a big I'm a big fan of Big E. I think he's actually really athletic. The problem is WWE is really misusing him. They aren't letting him be Big E because Big E's actually a really funny dude. If they let him be himself, it's great. So Big E and Wade Barrett, I called Wade Barrett to win it, which he did. He won a stellar match. There was a weird moment at the beginning when he's not Wade Barrett anymore. He's Bad News Barrett. They don't even use the name Wade anymore. But he led the crowd in a Bad News chant, which is very face, and Bad News is a heel. But he actually led the crowd in a chant, and I did notice that the crowd was way heavy into Bad News Barrett and was actually booing Big E. But I called it for a Wade Barrett win. I'm 4-4 on the day. You can see a pattern here. Next was easily the match of the night and something I really want to spend some time on because this was just the stellar match. I think 5 stars. A lot of people were saying it was a little boring in the beginning, but I think it was posturing. It was really about Evolution kind of establishing dominance in the beginning, saying that they are the more cohesive team because they are the legends. They are one of the greatest groups in the history of the WWE. So it would make sense for these 3 powerful, egotistical guys to systematically beat down Seth Rollins and beat down Dean Ambrose. And eventually, it wound up turning around with the Shield coming together as a cohesive unit and taking out Evolution. So it actually made sense. So I call it a 5-star match because it told the story. And not to mention, Ambrose coming in was amazing. He it was great. One of the weird things about it is Batista got more boos than anybody. Of course, all the Shield got cheered, and then Triple H kind of got cheered. Randy Orton, he got a mixture of cheers and boos, mostly from cheers from the women. But Batista would enter the ring, and it would just be a sea of boos, just so much venom and hatred spit his way. I thought it was funny. But the star of this match was Seth Rollins all the way. No one takes a bump like that guy. He's amazing. He killed. There was another "you can't wrestle" chant for Batista, which I kind of disagree with. Yeah, he's boring right now, and he's lost a little bit of a step, but he's old. But he actually does put on great matches. The actual match really picked up at the end. Whenever they all got outside and started brawling. Ambrose running across the announce tables to attack Triple H and Batista was awesome. The brawl through the crowd was awesome, and of course that amazing suicide dive off the top of the off the top of the balcony onto Batista, Triple H, and Ambrose by Seth Rollins was awesome. Spot of the night. And then Reigns and Batista were left alone with Batista almost getting the Batista bomb on him, but Reigns reverses it. Beautiful finish. Awesome match. I called for the Shield to win. The Shield won. I'm 5 for 5 on the night. Once again, you're seeing a pattern. But they did continue the feud through Raw, which it was a little bit of a weird continuance because I thought they should probably go with a little bit of a Batista is angry that he was left alone to be beaten by Reigns, but they didn't. They came in as a cohesive unit and beat down the Shield again. Again, also after the Shield had already been beaten down by the Wyatts. So the Wyatts actually won clean, or not really clean, but the Wyatts won over the Shield on Raw thanks to Evolution's interference, and then Evolution completely beats down the Shield, even giving Reigns a triple powerbomb. Kind of odd that the Evolution is actually stealing all of the Shield stuff, like the fist thing they do and the triple powerbomb. They're stealing everything from them to get heel heat, and I don't think they need to do that because they're all jerks, egotistical jerks anyway. So it's really not needed. And then them beating down the Shield so much, but losing to them when it matters is kind of weird too. The rumor is that Batista will be leaving after the next pay-per-view, after June 1st on Payback. He'll be leaving for a while to promote Guardians of the Galaxy, which says that Evolution has to lose. However, there is another rumor going around that the original plan was Batista versus Daniel Bryan at Payback, but Batista didn't want to lose a match to Daniel Bryan just before he goes and promotes a film. So does that mean that he doesn't want to lose to the Shield? But he doesn't have to if it's another 6-man tag. But I don't know if they'll go with another 6-man tag. I think they need to go with Ambrose and Rollins versus Orton and Batista, and Reigns versus Triple H, and then they can discover it from there. But either way, it's turning into an odd feud. I like how Stephanie McMahon is staying out of it. That's cool. It's just Evolution versus the Shield. Really, it's actually a really good feud so far, and probably outside of Bray Wyatt and John Cena, probably the best thing going. Which is kind of sad for Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan and Kane is not the greatest feud right now. But anyway, Shield won, 5 for 5 on the night, which led us to weird booking. I wasn't a fan of this booking. I thought they should have went Evolution and Shield, then Big E and Bad News Barrett, then John Cena, not have the match of the night, who everyone knew that was going to be match of the night, and then have one of the most anticipated matches. It was just weird booking. I wasn't a fan of the match order because it's like they got all the things that no one cared about out of the way. I mean, you could have put Rusev versus R-Truth and Xavier Woods after Evolution, and that would have cooled down the crowd enough to get them hyped up again for John Cena and Bray Wyatt. But anyway, John Cena and Bray Wyatt was maybe 2.5 star. I was not a fan of that match. It was, I mean, they went for 4 minutes before the Wyatt family started interfering, and this was the biggest problem I had with this match, is there was so much interference. Why do the Wyatts have to interfere? Why can you not let Bray stand on his own and look strong? It's hurting Bray. I mean, a lot of people don't see it this way, but I do. This whole thing, I'm thinking that Bray is looking weak because he's looking like he can't handle himself. He has to have the Wyatts help him out, and I'm not a big fan of that. I hate that they're so worried about Cena looking weak that they're making Bray Wyatt look weak. Bray Wyatt being gotta be like top 3 heels right now. I mean, he could probably get the WWE Heavyweight Championship right now and people wouldn't care. People would love that. But it's weird. I didn't like all the interferences. Like, John Cena had the match won 6 times, and the Wyatts interfered. And then in the end, it ended up being all 3 Wyatts in the cage at the same time, and John Cena took all 3 of them out. One guy took out this major stable that is unbeatable and unstoppable, and I found that to be just ridiculous booking. It was awful. John Cena was about to walk out, the lights go out, and I'm thinking, all right, a new member, sweet. But we get this little kid who, with a deep voice, and it's clearly a voice changer on the mic, but he's creepy as all hell and everything. It was cool, but I thought the deep voice on the kid was a little silly, to be honest. It was just kind of a dumb thing, and it was one of the dumbest endings to the match ever, because it's Cena pops out after taking out an entire Wyatt family, pops out and sees this little kid and is like, now I'm scared. So it's like, he's not scared of the Wyatt family, he's not scared of taking them on, but a little 8-year-old kid freaks him out. That's really what he couldn't have just stepped down the steps and kind of skirted past the kid, you know, kind of like, oh, there we go, look out, you know. He could have done it, but they didn't book it that way. They booked it with Cena being scared out of his mind, and then Bray Wyatt hits the Sister Abigail and escapes. And then the Wyatt family walks out hand in hand with the child. And then they cut a promo which had a little botch in it where the kid started speaking and you hear his natural voice, and then the deep voice comes in. It was weird. I think they need to hook it up with 2 mics maybe, and have like a deep voice and his natural voice, because then it has a weird octave to it. Would have made it more creepy. But I said Bray Wyatt would win. Bray Wyatt won 6-6. Here's a spoiler alert. I got every single one right. I was 8 for 8 on the night. I got every single one of my predictions right, which is not saying much because it was a very predictable night, but still, it's been a while since I've got it, since I've got, you know, all of them right. So pat on the back for me, and I'm going to freaking enjoy it, and y'all can suck it. Alright, the next match, and this is where another question is going to come in. I do have not a lot to say on this match, but something to say on this match. Tamina versus Paige was a solid 3-star match. People don't see it that way because the crowd had just went through Evolution and Shield, which was 5-star all the way, and then John Cena and Bray Wyatt, which was emotionally draining. So the crowd was dead. By the way, John Cena and Bray Wyatt is continuing. It continued on Raw. With Bray Wyatt talking down to Cena. Cena wasn't at Raw, which was weird, and now Cena's going to retort on main event, which is, you know, it's going to continue the feud. I think this feud will continue well past Payback. I think this feud is going to continue for a while. Eventually, I think Payback, John Cena is going to kind of get some revenge, and he probably is going to stand tall. But in the end, Bray Wyatt will win this feud because he needs it more. But back to the crowd being dead. The crowd just was drained at this point. They didn't know who to cheer for, what to do, so they sent in the cooler, which is the Divas, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that WWE is making right now. Is every time the Divas are the coolers, which means that the crowd, they're very programmed right now. They're very they're in a cycle that they're in habit right now, to where whenever you see the Divas, it's time to cool down. It's time to stop being a hot crowd and go to the bathroom and everything, because this is the rest before the main event. People are seeing this, and it's getting instilled in their head that they can't, you know, it's okay to leave. It's just like touching a hot stove. You touch that hot stove once, you're never going to touch it again. But that's exactly what it is. This is a hot stove. People are just not. They're knowing that whenever the Divas are on, it's cool down time, and the main event's next. And they need to quit booking it like that. They need to give the Divas another slot and more time. Which they gave them a minute more this time. They gave them 6 minutes. And Tamina and Paige put on a show. I mean, they really, really got out there and did their thing. And it was actually impressive. I mean, and the one thing that impressed me a lot with this match is the commentary actually stayed on point. That was surprising. It was JBL, Cole, and Jerry Lawler. They were actually talking about the Divas match and not talking about something else, and you didn't hear JBL burying the Divas like he does. So, you know, it was really cool. It was a solid Divas match, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the fact that the crowd was dead, but they just were. They were just dead all the way around, and Paige really wrestled her heart out, and they even got the Scorpion crosslock on Tamina, which was impressive. I said she couldn't do it. She did it. But Paige won. I said Paige would win, 7-7 on that. And before we get to the question, I want to say that Albany, New York's Raw crowd was terrible. That was one of the worst crowds I've ever seen. From chanting CM Punk over and over and over again, which people need to get the hell over that. He's not coming back. If he does come back, it's not going to be anytime soon. Let the dude rest. Just because you chant his name, you think he's watching Raw and he's going to go, oh, they're chanting my name, I better come back. No. CM Punk cares about himself, and that's it. He didn't care about you guys, or else he wouldn't have left. But they chanted CM Punk during the Bad News Barrett match, which was horse crap, because, I mean, that's a solid performer, and you guys are, you know, and you guys are chanting CM Punk. I mean, he's finishing out a feud so he can start a new one. I don't know what he's going to start with, but he's going to start a new one somewhere. And they booed the fact that Dean Ambrose lost his U.S. title on Raw, too. I mean, I can understand that. Ambrose is your hero. Ambrose is awesome. He's an amazing athlete. But the problem is that Ambrose doesn't need that title, and he's proven it because people take him seriously and think he's just this awesome being, and he never defended that title. He defended it twice in 7 months. That's saying something, but people still took him seriously. That proves that he does not need that title. Granted, I'll agree that it probably shouldn't have been given to Sheamus, because in all honesty, Sheamus is kind of above the U.S. title. I'm a fan of Sheamus. Not a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that aren't, but I like him. It could just be that I'm Irish and he's Irish. Don't know. But it's just, it doesn't feel right with him on it. I think they should have given it to Ziggler, which in my eyes, Ziggler's above it too, but at least it would give Ziggler something. Give him some shine. But Sheamus getting the belt was a little weird. I'm hoping he doesn't hold on to it for too long, so he can move on to something else. But I don't even know what they're going to do with that. I have no idea what's next for that. But that's the one thing about Bad News Barrett and Sheamus right now. They're just kind of up in the air. They're champions, but they don't have a feud. And that's another thing that WWE has been doing wrong, is not giving the titles feuds. I think Ambrose had one feud the entire time with his belt, and then he never defended it. So I don't see why people were so upset when it was just a decoration for Ambrose. It was just something that he wore around his waist. That is it. There's nothing more to it. So there's no reason to get so upset. Not to mention, putting this belt on Sheamus puts a little bit of spotlight on Sheamus, which means he's going to go to heel turn. He will do a heel turn sometime soon. Just watch. And it's going to turn something completely around. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but they're going to do something. So that crowd was horrible. Just like for the Tamina Page match, the crowd was not good for that match. But I did have a question from Darren, who has changed his name twice on Twitter. He's now back to his original name. Let's hope he keeps it like that. If you want to follow him, just True North 73. Everyone knows that, because he asks me a question every week, which is cool, because he's pretty much the only. I get questions asked every week, but his actually means something. It's usually like the questions I get asked are, who's my favorite wrestler, top 10 favorite matches of all time, stuff like that. And with the SmarkCast, now that I'm on YouTube, I try to keep it simple and more about the show and less about me. So anyway, but He just asked. I didn't even have to write it down. I don't even have to write his name down anymore because he's got it. But he basically asked, why do I think that WWE gave the Divas title to Paige instead of someone more established? And why couldn't it have gone to Natty or something like that? Natty, I will hit first because she actually has two things against her. Number one, supposedly she's going to go for some surgery on her sinuses, and that's going to put her out for 6 to 8 months. She can't win the Divas title with that. But number two, and there's going to be a huge, I'm saying spoiler alert right now, if you watch NXT and you're watching this now and you don't want to know what happens in NXT in the next 2 to 3 weeks, fast forward about a minute starting now. Okay, there's a NXT title tournament going on right now, and the end result is going to be Natalya versus Charlotte, and that they're going to fight for the NXT Women's title. And with JBL just stripping Paige of the NXT title, or of the NXT Women's title, it wouldn't make sense to have her go for the Divas title and the NXT Women's title. It just wouldn't make sense at all. Because why would he strip Paige but let Natalya go for both? I hope that's a minute. But that's the answer. It's a booking thing. They can't really give her a title shot because of what's happening. And then the surgery, it's not going to happen. So Natalya's out. But to answer your main question of why didn't they give it to someone more established, and that's what I believe. I don't know if this actually is the actual reason, but this is what I think. It's that the WWE is doing two things now. They're bringing in new people, mostly from NXT, Adam Rose, Rusev, Paige, Emma. They're just bringing in new people right now, and they're wanting to surprise us, which is not really showing because the pay-per-view was so predictable. But I'm talking about, like, everyone thought that Cesaro was going to win the Intercontinental Tournament, but Bad News Barrett won it. It just, they want to surprise us with some things. The kids coming out and singing Cena was a surprise, because as of late, it has been very predictable, such as Batista winning the Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan beating Triple H and becoming the world champion. Everyone knew that was going to happen. Everyone did. So they wanted to give us a surprise. So Paige comes out. There are a select few that are extremely happy, and the ones that don't, and the majority, the ones who don't watch NXT, don't know who she is. They're like, who is this girl and why is she getting in AJ's face? This is weird. And then when Paige beats her, people are like, whoa, okay, that was a surprise. So, I mean, the main reason why AJ dropped the title anyway is because she was going on a break. But they were like, you give it to Natty, that ain't going to happen. You give it to Brie, people will probably be upset. You can't give it to Tamina because she hasn't really earned it. Which, in my eyes, Tamina is one of the best women's wrestlers out there right now. I mean, the list goes on and on. But you give it to Paige, who is already the NXT Women's Champion. She's established. Go ahead and give it to her. And maybe it'll even revitalize the Divas division. And it did. And I hope you can't hear that. They are working on the yard outside, and that's really awful. So I'm going to have to hurry this up now before it gets too loud. Alright, so there's your answer, Darren. You can ask me another question anytime. The next and the main event at Extreme Rules was Kane and Daniel Bryan, which was 3 stars, maybe. It was a solid match, but not great. Mainly, I wasn't into it because I'm not into this feud. I don't care about this feud. It's kind of silly. Kane has done nothing to earn the right to fight for the title. But once again, who else are they going to put in there with Daniel Bryan? So but it was an extreme match, and this one actually was an extreme match. There was weapons within the first minute, and there were a lot of weapons used. It was really cool. For the first 10 minutes, there was barely anything that happened in the ring. It was mostly just them beating the hell out of each other. It's a cool extreme match, but I just wasn't into it. When they got to the back, there was some stuff that was kind of iffy. The car thing was cool. I liked it. But when he got the tire iron out and hit Kane with a tire iron, knocked him out, and then threw the tire iron out. I mean, for those of you who know what a tire iron is, it's a big metal stick, and when you throw it on the ground, it goes ding, 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 ding. He threw it on the ground and it said thunk, just thunk, and it was like, okay. And when he was beating Kane with it on his kidneys, the thing was bending, and then he threw it on the ground again. It said thunk, and when it hit the ground, it went back. He was hitting him with a rubber one, and it was clear that it was a rubber one. I thought it was funny. Whatever. The forklift bit was pretty cool. It was kind of weird, but I liked that he got him on there and drove him all the way. Clearly, Daniel Bryan knows how to drive a forklift. But the coolest thing about the whole forklift bit was Daniel Bryan jumping off the forklift and headbutting Kane. That was cool. After that, they got the flaming table. They poured gasoline on it, lit it up, and Kane went through it, and the like side people, the maintenance dudes, whatever they are, spraying him with the fire extinguishers, caused a distraction, which led to the flying knee. 23 minutes in, Daniel Bryan pins Kane, and I went 8 for 8 in the night. I was undefeated, if you will, but it was a decent match, not great. I was not fully impressed with it, but it was a good little extreme match and got its point across. And Kane set up at the end, and it said this feud's going to continue, which I wasn't a fan of. And it did continue on Raw in the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, the whole, oh no, Kane's coming, you gotta get out of here, and then they get in the car, and he's like, oh wait, you have a match, and then he gets in the car, and it won't start, and Bree's screaming, and Stephanie's with her horrible acting, and I mean, he's like, I'm looking at my wife like, he's gonna shut that hood, and Kane's gonna be in the car. He shut the hood, Kane's in the car, because no, you wouldn't notice a dude wearing all red in the backseat of your car. But it was just, and it was the getting on top of the car, driving off. I mean, it would have been cool if they could have done a little thing where Daniel Bryan backed over Kane or something, like he just backs up and he falls off, Kane gets out of the way, and Daniel Bryan looks behind him, just backs up, and you see the car go thunk thunk, but you actually don't see him hit Kane, and then he drives 40 in, thunk thunk, and he keeps driving, and then you just like have the camera based on Daniel Bryan, give it some time, and then pan over and see Kane just lying there like he had just run over Kane, and then have him set up. It would have been a little cooler. Would have been more horror movie-ish. But it was Bree's horrible acting that ruined it, the screaming, and this is just dangerously close to the Kane and Eve Torres and Zack Ryder thing. And that was a disaster. So I'm a little worried about it, and clearly Payback is going to be main evented by Daniel Bryan and Kane. Hopefully they can do something with this, and this will be the end. But that was it. It was the end of the pay-per-view. Decent pay-per-view. I loved it. It was actually not a decent one. It was a great pay-per-view. I loved it. The matches were cool. Storylines were progressed. A good little show. Raw, not so much. Raw was terrible. Mainly because that crowd was dead. But it was a good little weekend. I'm hoping Raw can get a little bit better. I think it will. I'm worried about Payback because Payback is in Chicago, which means we're going to be getting a lot of CM Punk chants, which not a fan of. I just wish people would get over it. And that's saying something, because during that entire pay-per-view, I was wearing my CM Punk shirt because I'm a huge CM Punk fan. But even I am like, you know what? If he doesn't want to come back, okay, that's fine, cool. Just people need to get over it. But anyway, that was the whole thing. After Raw, I had to call into Wrestling Heads Radio. Shout out to that. You need to, if you haven't checked out Wrestling Heads Radio, you really need to check that out. It's really cool. I called into them and talked to them for a while. Even talked a little bit of independent wrestling, which I haven't actually got to do a whole lot of, because this is a WWE based show. And little people don't really know that I'm actually really into independent wrestling as well. Well, they're not really independent. Like Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm into those two, and to me, that's not independent wrestling. TNA is independent wrestling. Ring of Honor is, I think Ring of Honor is the number 2 show, because TNA is just, it doesn't hold a candle to Ring of Honor. And to be bluntly honest, and this one may be unpopular, but I think New Japan Pro Wrestling is better than WWE. Maybe not in the storyline aspect, but wrestling-wise, totally. NJPW is the best wrestling you can get. Plain and simple, bottom line. And for those of you who do not know what NJPW is, it's New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I highly suggest you check that out. They have some amazing tag team action in there. Like, that's real tag team action. But I don't talk about that much because it's solely a WWE thing. But that's my, I guess, review. I don't know. I guess it was thoughts on Extreme Rules. I went 8 for 8. I'm gonna try to go 7 for 7 or 8 for 8 on Payback too. Watch, I'm gonna do it. Hopefully. I'm gonna see if I can't do a streak of my own. Streak. I don't have any clients that can defeat my streak, but I'm gonna try to do that. But anyway, it's 36 minutes in, and I'm gonna get out of here. If you want to reach me, email, it is SmarkCast, it's the name of this show, @gmail.com. You got Twitter, @minusdarrin, MINUSDARRIN. I'll put them in the detail section, as usual. But I am Darrin. This is the SmarkCast. Hit me up if you've got a question, or if you just want to send some love, or hate. I like hate too. Hate's cool because it fuels me. It's my fuel. Rock fuel. But thanks for watching. Have a nice day.